Welcome back to our continuing adventures on the CyberDefenders platform. Today we're taking a whack at the PhishStrike Lab challenge. This is a retired lab, and this is my second attempt through it, as everything entirely locked up while I was going through recording. And the video was entirely corrupted. Hooray. It is a threat intel category lab centered around tactics for initial access and execution, and they're expecting us to use the tools of for email header analysis, and then calling out URL host, URL scan.io, virus total, malware bazaar, medium difficulty, and expected to take you roughly about 1 hour. I got about 6 questions in before everything locked up. Scenario: as a cybersecurity analyst at an educational institution, you received an alert about a phishing email targeting faculty members. The email appears to be from a trusted contact and claims a $625,000 purchase, providing a link to download an invoice. Task is to investigate the email using threat intel tools, analyze the email header, inspect the link for malicious content, identify any indicators of compromise, and document your findings to prevent potential fraud and educate faculty on phishing recognition. Okay, so now to sit there and try to put this back together in some reference from what I remember. All the joys. Alright, so I have the email dumped into PhishTool. Hopefully it remembered my session. Hopefully. It did. Hooray. And it gives us a rendered email over on the right. It looks to be like a Columbian University with a series of links in the center. But the first question is for us to go through and find the SPF failure and DKIM failure. So inside of PhishTool, we can go over to security up at top, and it changes. We get the SPF record. We get a soft fail on 18.208.22.104. Technically, we don't have anything that matches in regards for DKIM, but we get a neutral. So that's our first, what appears to be aspect, and not to sit there and beat around the bush, that was the appropriate answer. But how would we find that if we weren't going to bother to look? If we weren't going to upload to PhishTool, what if we just had the EML file and a text editor? Text editor that apparently just wants to kind of sit there and chug, chug, chug. Alright, I'm going to pause this, give it a little bit of a second to kick back in. Well, apparently Notepad++ had an update, but here is the header itself. Across the whole screen. So we're going to look for, typically it would be an SPF section, but we'd also look for like ARC authentication, which we find right here, line 11. We get SPF of soft fail. We get a sender IP of that 18.208.22.104. And we get a DKIM of fail. No key for signature. Basically as a extra aspect that would be looking for in regards to that. Oh, excuse me. And then for for the email, this is what it would look like in an actual, say, Thunderbird or Outlook. And a little bit of pre-gaming. If we hold over, we'll see that the link shows up in the lower left-hand corner. It does not look like anything that you would typically use. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, so we transition back over. So then we need the return path of the email. In PhishTool, that comes up underneath headers, and we get a return path of the same Erica Johanna.Lopez at uptc.edu.co. Again, if we were to look at this without making use of a third-party tool like PhishTool, we're going to go down, we're going to find the from, the date, message ID, subject to, so we know we're pretty close to the right area. And a little bit further down, we get a return path line 119 if you're using Notepad++ for the EML file. You'll see the return path is the Erica Johanna.Lopez.uptc.edu.co. Confirming that aspect. Okay, now we got the other aspect. Identifying the source of the malware is critical for effective threat mitigation response. What is the IP address of the server hosting a malicious file related to malware distribution? So that's question 3. And since we have this open, if we go all the way down, headers are always at the top when you open up an EML file. You go down and you'll actually get the body. Now we lucked out because I've seen where they base 64 encode it, so you would have to actually take the base 64, dump it into CyberChef, reverse that so you could actually see the HTML code of the site. Here we have all this. And what we can see is there's the link 107.175.247.199. What we also observed when we, inside Thunderbird with the email open, in the lower left-hand corner when we were hovering over the link. Okay, so we've got that particular aspect. So what if we take a look at here? What do we get? We have message URLs underneath here. And that again points us to the 107.175.247.199. Lo and behold, yes, that's what we're looking for. Then the other aspect comes down to, okay, identifying malware for question 4. That exploits system resources for cryptocurrency mining is crucial or critical for prioritizing threat mitigation efforts. The malicious URL can deliver several malware types. What malware family is responsible for cryptocurrency mining? Answer is coin miner. Okay, how did we get there? Since basically I lost everything. If we go and take the IP, dump it into VT, we'll get some relations for that breaks down. I also took the IP and dumped it into URL hosts and malware bazaar, but apparently all those need to reload now and just drag everything down. So if we go to URL hosts, we have 3 items that show up when I just searched for the IP address, the 107. We get 3 items that apparently on the 22nd it was serving out bitrat. On the later in the 22nd it was popping out pure cryptor, and then on the even later on the 22nd, around noon 40 UTC, it was serving out async rat, bitrat, coin miner. And that's the key aspect there. According to the tag, coin miner is the family. Go to question 5. Identifying the specific URL's malware request is key to disrupting its communication channels and reducing its impact. Based on the previous analysis of the cryptocurrency malware sample, what does this malware request to the URL? Okay, so from here, we had to basically break out this to try to get an actual hash of the file. I'm waiting for all this stuff to reload. So if we go into underneath URL hosts for the item, the first one on the latest point in the 22nd, for async rat, bitrat, coin miner, it'll expand out, and we can actually see the recorded hashes of everything that it was going through and sending out. So we see the one that was associated with coin miners starts in 453 Foxtrot Bravo, ends in 7562 Foxtrot 0. If we go dump that into virus total and wait, I probably should have cycled through every single tab to make sure that everything was fully open, but it is what it is. I mean, it is working. It's just taking a second. Sit. Leave it alone. Come on. Alright, so that loads up. And I believe it's underneath relations. And it is. So if we take a look at the top section there for contacted URLs, we see that it reaches out to a http://ripley.studio/loader/uploads/ and QANJTTRBV.jpg. And we pop that in from the VT results, and we get the answer to that one. And we move on to the aspect for bitrat. So again, we're going back to URL hosts, and we're finding the bitrat. We've got the hash there. We dump that in, and we're looking for items on the run. Maybe. Possibly. So we've got this dumped inside. Does this actually make it any easier? It does. Okay. So way down at the bottom for this any.run analysis for the bitrat SHA-256 hash, the very first item for the execution of the malware sample. We go in, we take a look at registry changes, and we get HKey current user software, Microsoft Windows current version run, and it drops and refers to a jzwvix.exe, which is exactly what's being called. In that portion, okay, now we need to take a look and find that. So if we go to modified files, we'll see that it is the same exact hash of the bit. So it's basically the sample that was downloaded and run, basically just creates that auto run entry, and there we go. So they want the SHA-256 hash, so it's kind of a roundabout way, but we verified there. Maybe? Yes, okay, we're on the point with that one. The other aspect is you can go digging through here in relation to, I think it's behaviors near the bottom. You'll have to dig through a metric ton of sections, but eventually you will find an area that will reference registry keys modified, and you'll find the same exact item there. That exe, the jwzvix.exe. Well, let's move on. So, and analyzing HTTP requests made by the malware helps identify its communication patterns. What is the URL in the HTTP request used by the loader to retrieve the bit rat. So again, we go back to the portion, we take a look at this, and it's actually inside the HTTP request because mind you, this is the bitrat sample that we've just found the registry modifications. And in order to pull it, it's reaching out to http://107.175.247.199/loader/server.exe. So they're making extra use of that IP address. Or at least that's what it looks like. And it is. Introducing a delay in malware execution can help evade detection mechanisms. What is the delay in seconds caused by the PowerShell command according to the bitrat analysis? Okay, so now we've got to go through and start decoding some of the PowerShell that's here. So again, we refer back to the any.run analysis from, what was this, 10/26/2022? 2022. And so we can click on the PowerShell process tree. We get the, I don't suppose this will actually decode it for us, or am I going to have to whip out CyberChef? Nope, it will not. That is fine. We can just whip out CyberChef. And we will decode the base 64. Much like what we might have had to do if the actual HTML code of the EML file was base 64 encoded. All right. So we're just going to basically run the from base 64 underneath the favorites. We're going to pop in our portion here. And if we remove null bytes, does that clean that up? There we go. So the very first command is start dash sleep space dash seconds dash or space 50. So the request was, okay, how many seconds? 50 seconds. All right, last two questions. Tracking the command and control domains used by malware is essential for detecting and blocking malicious activity. What is the C2 domain used by the bitrat malware? So let's go back to this and let's take a look. Well, we know it uploads to the Ripley Studio, but we're looking for a subdomain.domain.tld. And what do I happen to see in here? gh9st.mywire.org. Let's see. And we're on point with that. Because we see our upload activity, but then we don't see any sort of actual data being sent across. But this only ran for 120 seconds. So I mean, if we take a look at the Bitfrost, do we actually see that mentioned anywhere in here that it... So there's the drop files. No. But sometimes this is why we have to rely on older analysis. Understanding how malware exfiltrates data is essential for detecting and preventing data breaches. According to the async RAD analysis, what is the Telegram bot ID used for this malware? Okay. I don't know if that got picked up. Dogs are having a spat on the giant cushy love sack behind me. So we're back to URL hosts for the IP address, the 107.175.247.199, and we're going to grab the hash for the async rat. We are going to go back and duplicate the tab. And we're going to dump the hash into this new tab for VT. And we're going to see what falls out. Oh, the background noise. Paste that in. Hit enter. What can you tell me? Besides, apparently authentication is required. Again, we get install. Do we actually get anything that's called out? So this is 3 months ago that this was analyzed. Do we get async rat? Info stealer keylogger? Scarcy? Which I think was pretty much on the other 2 samples as well. At least in terms of family. Okay, well, maybe not. Go take a look at relations. Another one that's doing the Ripley Studio and is pulling the stuff down from the 107. But let's do this. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over. We're going to go back over here. We're going to paste in the MD5. Wait. They're not the same, are they? They shouldn't be. No, I'm having a piss apparently. Alright, so we got October 25th. It is labeled Trojan and Downloader, which, great. Let's see what kind of actual items they got there. We're looking for Telegram. It looks like it's not huge, but not small either. Okay, that loaded up, and I am not seeing anything in regards to HTTP requests to Telegram, nor connections, or DNS requests. I don't suppose there's anything in here regarding... No. Okay, let's take a look at the community section. One year ago, they caught the C2, so that's called out there as well. So we've got some extra that if we didn't want to just assume. So if this was an actual analysis, as opposed to an after-the-fact analysis, we can take a look there. And it looks like everything's referring to the triage. So let's take a look at the triage report for this. So yeah, bitrat. Wait, it's supposed to be... Yeah, it's the same one. Okay. I'm just... let's see. So we got TMP. So let's go over and take a look at the analysis there. Well, that doesn't seem to have reached out, at least according to anything that's there. UPX packed. Hey, look at that. api.telegram.org. And it looks like it reached out to a bot 56109-20260 via Git. Same one, right? All the way through? apparently. So let's see. There. And there we go. So sometimes you just have to sit there and you can't rely just on VirusTotal, or you just can't rely on any.run, and you can't just rely on Malware Bazaar. It's a whole collection of different tools to go through and take different whacks at this stuff. Turned out well. We're shy of 30 minutes, and it was probably 15 minutes of recording that I ended up losing the first time around, digging through everything else, but I think I was able to sit there and show everyone um, that you don't have to rely on like the phishing tool community edition to take a look at the email. It does help, it does make it a little bit easier. Um, Obviously, I think they've got a private one, but you should probably check that out. And then obviously consider uh, what your organization's risk stance is. But I mean, if you're just an independent person or trying to get into this, couldn't hurt. Another tool that you can sit there and say that you've mastered out of everything. So yeah, very good use of threat intel. Not one that you can, as demonstrated, that you just can't, just stick inside a VirusTotal and find all the answers because we weren't seeing the Telegram stuff. Um, but yeah, very nice all the way through. Would highly recommend. Um, and should be able to sit there and knock it out sub an hour. Um, but obviously, if it takes you longer, it takes you longer. Just depends as to, how confident you are in regards to all this. Skills, everything else. But so there we go. That has been the medium difficulty retired CyberDefenders lab of the PhishStrike Lab. And with all that being said, I will see everybody in the next video.